the elevated water tank located downtown, and the existing Zone 2 reservoir on Concession Road 4. The proposed Zone 1 reservoir and Zone 2 pumping station shown on Liberty Street will replace the function of the existing elevated tank after they've been constructed. Oh, seem to have lost our animation. Anyways, now we'll bring in several capital projects strategically staged and undertaken over the past few years. Starting from the south is a Bowmanville water supply plant upgrade tender, ready for award as detailed in our report, which carries a 3-year construction schedule. The prefab storage building contract, also noted in the report, has been awarded and should be complete by early next year. Feeder mains were completed on Bowmanville Avenue and Lambs Road in '24, followed by the Concession Street pumping station upgrades to be completed later this year. And further north on Liberty Street, we've just started construction of a feeder main to the new Zone 1 and existing Zone 2 reservoir. And I'm happy to report we've just awarded the new Zone 1 reservoir and Zone 2 pumping station contract, scheduled to be complete by the end of 2027. And note that this list doesn't include water main replacement projects delivered through joint ventures with Clarington's road program, or all of the road, bridge, sanitary sewer, or water pollution control plant projects, which are numerous. As part of our strategic staging of critical future growth projects, I'll show you several feeder main contracts in the design phase. And they're already up there. Some are close to tender ready, and others a couple of years out in both pressure zones 1 and 2. They're on Region Road 57, Liberty Street, Concession Road 3 and 4, Lambs Road, and Baseline Road. These critical links in the system are budgeted, designed, and constructed to be in place when these plants, reservoirs, and pumping stations are commissioned, just in time for new development. The Class EA for the expansion of the Bowmanville water supply plant and Zone 2 reservoir is scheduled to begin next year, followed by the design work for both. These operations will be carried out concurrently with the disinfection and electrical upgrades detailed in today's report. Then, the much-needed filter rehab and under-drain replacement design will also run concurrently so that this work can start as soon as the current water supply plant upgrades are complete, around 2029. Once this filter work is done, then the water plant and Zone 2 reservoir expansions could start construction. So as you can see, the water plant upgrades we're reporting on today are just one of the many projects strategically staged to support growth as dictated by development. Now I'll hand you over to Mike, who will review the proposed upgrades for Bowmanville water supply plant.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I'm Mike Harris, the manager of the Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Design Division in the Capital Project Delivery Branch. Thank you for taking the time today to hear us out about this project at the Bowmanville Water Supply Plant. The footprint of the plant is in the red box shown on the image on the right. It's located close to our Port Darlington Water Pollution Control Plant near the shoreline of Lake Ontario. The major components of this contract are going to be installing a UV disinfection system at the plant, replacing some critical electrical infrastructure panels, as well as control panels for the plant equipment, and replacing the existing emergency backup diesel generator at the plant. As Dan mentioned, all of this work positions the plant for future projects. The existing plant is a conventional filtration plant. The last major expansion was completed in 1993. Disinfection at the plant today is primarily through the application of chlorine at the plant. Application of chlorine to treat the water from Lake Ontario is high and is highest in cold weather months in the winter. Filter 3, as Dan mentioned, requires rehabilitation and repair in the future. We need to complete all of the work in this contract to position the plant to undergo that rehabilitation work in the future. In addition, the TSSA has noted that the indoor fuel storage for the existing diesel generator is out of compliance for existing code, and we have until March 2027 to address that issue. That work is being completed as part of this project. All right, so by adding UV disinfection at the plant, we will be able to reduce the consumption of chlorine at the plant. So that will enable our operators to provide clean drinking water at the increasing frequency of which high demand periods are occurring in Bowmanville due to population growth. The existing application of chlorine at the plant, as I noted, is high, and it is accelerating corrosion of metallic pipe and fittings at the plant. There'll be some pictures coming up to show this. As part of this work to connect the UV disinfection system, we will be replacing and relocating some of the electrical equipment in the plant into a dedicated storage room with this work keeping in mind the future work that needs to happen at the plant, both for asset management as well as expansion in the future. To do this, we will be replacing the existing diesel backup power system, relocating it outside of the plant, and positioning all the electrical equipment in the existing diesel room. So some pictures here. This is the main electrical supply cabinet in the plant, located in very close proximity, literally underneath some water and chemical feed lines. That is not a situation that we would like to have in case those lines leak in the future. The cabinet itself is old as well, and sourcing parts for it is very challenging for our operations department. Work completed in the past is no longer on this panel, is no longer compliant with electrical codes today. So when we open up this panel to make the connections for the UV disinfection system, we need to bring it up to code, and because of its age and condition, it does need to be replaced. So we're going to move this panel to a different room. Just another picture showing some electrical panels and control panels in the plant. In the back left of the picture, you'll see the top of an existing valve. That's indicative of the condition that exists in the plant, where there's processed water piping in and around electrical supply cabinets. That is something we're looking to improve the operational safety for our operators in the plant, as well as the protection of the electrical infrastructure by relocating it to a dedicated room inside of the plant. The wet floor sign that you can see in the picture as well is indicative of the occasional leaks that happen by nature of being close to process piping. So a series of pictures on the screen now, which show stainless steel piping being corroded. I mentioned the application of chlorine at the plant is high, so it is accelerating the corrosion of pipes inside of the plant. So by installing the UV disinfection system, and that will slow down this from happening as well. The top two pictures, if you can make it out, there's a tote bin located underneath some metal fixtures that occasionally leak. That's an operational issue for our operators to collect that water so it doesn't result in slip fall hazards in the plant. This is the indoor diesel generating room inside of the plant. The diesel generator is to the left of the picture. The fuel storage is a large tank. It's outside of the picture, but it is beside this room as well. This diesel generator, the manufacturer no longer exists, so sourcing parts for it is a challenge. It does have ongoing maintenance issues as well, and it needs to be replaced. So this unit, as well as the indoor fuel storage tank, will be relocated outside of the plant into its own enclosure. Okay, you'll note in this picture as well, you can see the materials and parts for the plant are being stored in this room, and it is congested with space. That's consistent with our chemical storage room as well. This is a different room in the plant where materials and supplies and tools for maintaining the plant are being stored. The operators are using every square inch of the plant to keep the materials they need to keep the plant running. So as part of this program, we have designed and contracted, as Dan mentioned, a separate contract for the construction of a steel prefabricated storage building outside of the plant that will enable all of this equipment and surplus materials to be relocated outside of the plant and make space for this contractor and future contractors to be able to complete work inside of the plant. Okay, so the Works Committee report speaks to an increase in consulting fees as well for this project. So just to highlight the rationale for that, RV Anderson, RVA, were awarded the detailed design and preliminary design for the disinfection upgrades as well as a condition assessment exercise in 2020. When that RFP was awarded, it was envisioned that the contract for construction would start in 2022 and it'd be about 14 months in duration. Now, the asset management, inventory, and condition assessment identified that a lot of the infrastructure in the plant was at the end of its life and needed to be replaced, and was in a condition that these replacements were required to keep the plant operating. So the new scope for detailed design increased the project complexity, both for the design phase as well as for construction as well. So the scope change that is part of the Works Committee report is for the additional construction effort that RVA will be undertaking primarily. The contract duration is 36 months, expected to be 36 months now, and it is much more complex work. In addition, we have a separate contract for that prefabricated storage building. Dan mentioned that this contract is a prerequisite for future capital work. I did mention previously that the work that is being completed in this project is considering future work at the plant, both for betterment and for eventual expansion. The next contract will be the rehabilitation and replacement of under drains and filter 3. That work needs to be completed before the plant is ready for an expansion in the future. The EA, Class EA, for the expansion is expected to start in 2026. It will take 2 to 5 years for both the EA and the detailed design to be completed for that plant to meet the needs of development. So it's paramount that these betterment projects proceed to position the plant to be ready to expand when population growth warrants it. Most importantly, the asset management work being done as part of this contract and the next contract need to be planned and completed to maintain the infrastructure in a good state of repair, which is our duty as a region as per the standard of care, which is Section 19 of the Safe Drinking Water Act. Okay, this is just a figure indicative of the 2 contracts that are proceeding now at the plant, both for the storage building and the UV and electrical upgrades. The next project after this is completed in 3 years will be the filter rehab and under drain replacement. Once that is completed, we anticipate that contract to take 2 years. The plant will be ready for an expansion. All right, thank you for your time today. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for coming in. We do have one question, but I'm going to skip ahead of that question for a second. Do you want to go into a little bit more detail on the UV technology versus chlorine and what your chlorine levels are in the plant and at the furthest reaches compared to the minimum requirements at the end of the line? Is that question clear?
Yeah, I think so. So
Okay.
the application of chlorine at the plant is within the, thank you for that question. The application of chlorine at the plant is within the operating parameters of the ECA for the plant, the certificate of approval that the ministry holds us to for the plant. In order to meet the minimum chlorine residual in the drinking water system, we need to apply a certain level of chlorine at the plant to satisfy that requirement. So by introducing the UV disinfection system, that allows us to use less chlorine to maintain that same residual, because the UV disinfection system will in effect substitute the function that the chlorine provides, which is killing or disenabling the reproduction capacity of the bacteria within the water.
Okay. And how much lower do you think the chlorine levels can be with UV versus without?
Yeah, I don't have that answer for you now specifically on the exact numbers, but it will be less than what we have today at the plant location to maintain that residual within the drinking water system.
Okay. Let's go to Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you had suggested that these meetings go faster when I'm not here than when I'm here, and you may in fact be 100% correct in that observation. Michael, following up on the chlorine issue, not unusual for people to complain about how much chlorine appears to be in the water. My answer, which I'm assuming is correct, is I'd rather have too much chlorine than too little chlorine in the water. We're what, 25 years away from Walkerton? Is that a fair statement?
Yes, the chlorine provides a function on keeping the water disinfected for the users in the system.
Yeah, so the UV system. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to recognize this agenda is sort of heavily loaded towards Clarington, so I feel special today. I mean, whenever I'm around you guys, I always feel special. Dan, I'm going to pick on you. For half. Well, you talked about the 10-year forecast, and there's a political motivation behind this. We hear from members of the public that infrastructure spending is not keeping up with development. You had made the comment that this is just in time for development. You made reference to a 10-year forecast. And then we've got pressure from the provincial and federal governments looking at development charges, how greedy we are. Would you have an idea that 10-year forecast that Durham Region is spending just on water and sewer? Can you give us a ballpark figure on how much money we have to spend to accommodate that development? And if you don't know it, I get it because it's a pretty discrete question.
Yeah, no, that is a great question. I mean, we had ministry folks in our office for a tour of the Oshawa Water Supply Plant and Bowmanville Avenue contract, the road widening project that we received some funding from them, the Housing Enabling Core Services Streaming Fund. So our planning folks had provided some development numbers, housing figures for them, and then we were showing how the execution of this capital work is helping facilitate that. So they have those numbers. I don't know if I can give you the exact figure, the 10-year amount that we're spending on sewer water. It is significant. That Regional Road 57 project alone is estimated $43 million tender value. These plant rehabs and upgrades and expansions are significant. We're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars just there alone. And then on the feeder mains as well, each of these projects are in the $5 to $20 million range, and the reservoir contract as well. For Zone 1, the tender value was $26 million, I think. Total project budget was over $30 million, so it's hundreds of millions. I don't have the exact figure for you, though, in the 10-year.
I'm neither surprised nor disappointed because you didn't know I was going to ask that. So thank you, Mr. Chair. The point is, I wonder if our members of provincial parliament understand the magnitude and how lumpy these expenditures are, why we need accounts with hundreds of millions of dollars in them to accommodate this. That's all that I have. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you very much. And I did get a chance to tour this plant and saw it firsthand, the impacts of the higher than maybe required chlorine levels after the UV goes in, which will just make the plant run a little bit easier. And then some of the concerns with water close to electricity. It's a bit of a concern. How many amps was that? Was it 3,500 amps, Mike? Was that one panel with water pipes above it?
There's, I think, 3 different levels of power in the plant. So we have power coming in. I think we've got a 44 kV line coming in, and then it's stepped down to 3 different levels. One for just running your basic computers, one for running kind of smaller pumps, and then one for running larger pumps. So there's 3 different transitions of power in the plant. And that panel at the front that is out of compliance, if we touch it, has to separate and step down the power. So there's 3 different levels of power at the plant.
Okay. I don't see any other hands, but just 2 follow-ups if you don't mind. You talked about the time it's going to take for that EA. If you skipped the EA process and went straight into design, how much time and money would that save?
It may save a little bit. We have to go through a lot of the similar steps through the preliminary and detailed design phase anyways with our public consultations and duties to consult and doing our feasibility studies and all of that good work that's typically part of the EA. So it may save a little bit, may save a little bit of cost, but we have to go through similar steps at any rate.
Okay, thank you. And then you talked about a diesel generator needed to be replaced and fuel storage, et cetera. What if you converted that to natural gas? Would that be a better option and it would save the concerns around fuel storage long term?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something we're looking at, and I think it'll be part of our feasibility study for all of our projects going forward. I think traditionally our design and plant operations people had standardized on diesel generators and on-site fuel storage. So I think the thinking was in the past they didn't have to rely on any other utility for power in the event of a significant power failure. But as you said, there's a lot of advantages to natural gas. So we'll be looking at that in the future. You've got basically unlimited runtime, and I'm not aware of any problems with the gas supply during a power outage. So you do have that advantage. Also, the advantage of the TSSA requirements for fuel storage is quite onerous, especially inside the building. The tanks need to be double wall containment. However, with natural gas, you do need the service line. You do need the pressure and volume capacity. So whether you have that locally in the right of way or that needs to be brought in, so there's design and cost associated with that as well. And you're correct with power outage. You do have to truck in the fuel, and then you do have to stabilize and polish it over the long term so that fuel doesn't deteriorate. So a lot of factors that go into it, but certainly will be part of our feasibility studies and analysis going forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm just wondering if someone would be willing to bring forward 2023 W23. Moved by Councilor Mulcahy, seconded by Mayor Foster. Questions, comments, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any additional questions on the report itself? Okay, do you want to move the report as well? Okay, Mayor Foster, Councilor Mulcahy, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got our next presentation is by Ramesh, and he's talking about Regional Road 57 and the expansion of Baseline Road. You're gonna do it from here or up there?
I'll just do it from,
Okay, fair
just a
enough.
preamble because Roger's going to play the video.
right?
Yeah,
Okay, go
yeah.
ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. As you know, the long anticipated Bowmanville Avenue widening project in Clarington is going to be commencing soon. We are hoping it's going to start in early fall, like, September, October. It's the largest single road project actually we've completed in recent times in terms of total cost. It's about $43 million. And as you know, the project is going to include road widening from Highway 2 to 401 as a complete street from an engineering perspective with all the elements you can imagine in a major road project. Road widening, bridge widening, got a lot of retaining walls, noise walls, intersection improvements, a pedestrian tunnel, and of course there's some minor water sewer work as well. The only reason we were able to tender this as a single project in the same year was the $20 million funding that we got from the Housing Enabling Stream. So thank you to the funding agency there. Most of the planning for this occurred during the pandemic, so which created an opportunity, on hindsight anyway, for us to be able to do a virtual animation video that essentially is a 3D animation of the corridor. It really served us very well for public engagement, and we just wanted to showcase this video as a recent capability we are hoping to use on complex projects. Really, it's so easy to understand what the final project is going to look like. So with your permission and indulgence, Roger, if you could please play the video. Thank you. It's about 5 minutes, so thank you for your patience. Yeah. So, thank you, Roger. 2 points I would like to make. Like, we had an opportunity to present this video to the funding agency last week, and I think they truly appreciated. They're able to visualize the project just like the public were. So, we do think this is a good tool to promote this to funding agencies and so on, so they can clearly visualize what they see. And now, number 2 is, we know the next 2 years is going to be very disruptive. A lot of complaints and concerns, but hopefully the public seeing this visual, they can say, okay, it's all worth it, right? So, thank you, and I'm hoping we can use this for projects like rapid transit on Highway 2, Simcoe, like where, especially if you're talking about aerial solutions, it's good to visualize that, right? Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, just on the video, it's fantastic. I think the other thing that might be helpful is if you show the before and after as part of the video presentation, so you can kind of see the changes clearer, might be worth it. If you're going through the process, it might make sense to show the expansion.
Yeah, for a small cost, I think we should be,
Yeah. So let's go with Vice Chair. Go ahead, Tito.
Chair, through you to the Commissioner and obviously the Mayor of Clarington, compliments to the chef. Very big project. I think Councilor Marquehi and I were commenting on how many elements are involved, including CP. So that's a pretty big beast to be able to tame. You've got a lot of elements to be able to activate in this infrastructure project, and it's a pretty big one. So I think it's one that's going to be well received. Road infrastructure in general is something that the general public has been not only craving but needing for a number of decades. And I hope that we're able to, not just with the property tax base funding that we receive from residents, but sustainably we can hopefully depend on provincial and federal levels of government to be able to activate other projects within the region. The only thing I would leave us with is oftentimes when we perform these projects, we mean well with the medians. It may seem like a small detail where you have, brick in the middle of the median. Sometimes the median may only be 2-3 feet. It may be wise for us to value engineer and see whether or not the people pouring the curbs can actually just pour straight over and have a complete cement median, so you don't have the weeds flying up in the middle. You also have one process. It could save us some costs. But the other is the sound barriers. I'm not sure if we looked at living walls or the process of adding vegetation as opposed to, because I know through this committee in the past we've talked about berming. I know that in this particular area may be too tight up against the property lines, but something more natural in terms of sound barrier, because it looks jagged at times. It may be just the program that we have, but I'm sure that the mayor and other residents and visitors to the community would appreciate the potential of those options. And then lastly, we're looking at multiple intersections. We're going to get the comment, have you looked at roundabouts? I'm sure that that's already been looked at. It's just for our own sake as a department to make sure that that's on the radar, because I know that folks will be asking the mayor and others, including us on the committee and those in the department, have you looked at roundabouts? You're planning this. So I just leave it through you. Those are the 3 considerations that I would just consider to be, I guess from my standpoint, important in this project, aside from hopefully further value engineering so that the costs can be contained. Thank you.
Yeah, so all 3 valid points noted. Without getting into details here, like things such as roundabouts, every intersection is reviewed for like all options. Every noise attenuation is looked for all options that gives you the most cost-effective decibel reduction. So that's why the EA process, like Dan mentioned, these things get done regardless in terms of options. But noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next will be Mayor Foster. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I like the compliments to the chef. So compliments to the chef. You think great project. Following on Councillor Mian-Pietri's comments, I have a prediction what those walls are going to look like a couple of years after they're up. So the living walls, or if Durham Region could put in the back of their minds the potential for some groups to do murals, just to try to keep the tagging off of those. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone in the room. The proposed development in that area. We've got a developer just north of Baseline that wants to get going, a significant number of units. We've got approvals, who knows if they ever move forward, for a couple of 25-story buildings. And then at Highway 2, aside from the GO train, at Highway True, there are 3 significant proposals right now, 2 of which are at the OLT. One of which is for a massive number of units that Clarington is having a hard time swallowing, but this is so desperately needed, so thank you.
Yeah, just, that's a good point you make, Mayor Foster. In the housing enabling funding application, we needed to illustrate the number of units such a project would, to use the Prime Minister's phrase, catalyze, right? And this one, I think it's about 9,000 units. This is going to cater to growth. So you could imagine the 9,000 units added, and if you're able to maintain the same level of service, not a bad thing. Thank you.
Okay, next we've got Councilor Makahi.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I just have one question, and it related to the reference to some of the residents having the potential in the future to hook up to water and sewer, or to sewer. I can't remember what it was. So are we making a collaborative effort to, like, can they hook up to sewer prior to this project being complete? Or is this something that they have to wait till the project's over with? And are we working with that group of residents to see if we can, make it more streamlined instead of piece by piece? And they're going to go through 2 years of construction, so I think we need to try to work with them here.
It really would depend on the staging, but typically, there's a warranty period until we have granted substantial completion. We wouldn't really commission any of the components, but Dan, are you able to add to that?
There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, you're correct. Typically, we're adding some sanitary in this area for the new development. I think it's in the east side area, east of Aspen Springs. And typically, opportunity for them to connect would be once we've installed the sanitary sewer and then commissioned it. So we bring the services to property line, and then be up to the resident to connect at that point in time. So it would be, as Ramesh said, typically it's after substantial performance.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's all about warranty implications and so on, right? So-
Okay, so just as a follow-up, though, are we communicating that this is coming to those specific residents and giving them a bit of lead time and estimated costs and what they're looking at? Because I know that sometimes they get those estimates and go, holy cow, that's a lot of money. So, I think that given that we're going to disrupt their lives for a little while, maybe some sort of coordinated effort with just that. I think it's probably a handful of houses. I don't think it's a lot, just to make sure that they're aware of what's coming.
So if I may, Nat, are you able to clarify how do we line this up with the property owners so that they get ready to line up?
Yep. So through the chair, it is fairly commonplace that in establishing a new sanitary sewer, we do want to communicate with the homeowners in advance because we want to take reasonable steps to make life as simple as possible, though, simple is maybe a relative word in what we're talking about. But we do like to set them up where we are lining up the laterals, for example, up to as close as possible where the plumbing just makes sense based on the home that exists there at the time. And we're also, facing the reality that there's already some development applications that we are coordinating with on the east side of the road there too. So some of what is going in is for existing residents, and we're also accounting for the fact that there's some grander views for a few of the properties that are not being used as such at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next is Chair Henry.
Good morning, Chair, and thank you. Ramesh, I don't know who did the video, but as the mayor says, sun always shines on Clarington first. If you looked at the shadowing, it was done around between 10 and 12 in the morning. As you go north on Bowmanville Avenue, it was pretty amazing to see. Quick question. The walkway that will be under the road will be lit, of course, but will we have cameras in it as well? It's a long walkway.
As of now, no, but those things are easy to add.
So may I suggest you think about CTV cameras, just because of the length of that tunnel, it might be appropriate to be able to see what's going on. The other part too is, to Mayor Foster's comment, 9,000 homes. Wouldn't it be amazing if the GO train was there about the same time as the homes were developed? It is well in the works. On this project, I know we got $20 million from the province, but what is the total region cost on this project, less the 20 million?
So the anticipated tender cost, which is right in the budget document, so I can say it's about 43 million. That includes about $1 million in sanitary and water main. And I would say another 3-4 million. I don't know how much property we had to buy, like, you know, I'm just talking about the $43 million is in the anticipated tender cost.
So about $50 million?
Yeah, order of magnitude.
Less the 20 million? Or-
50 million includes 20 million, yeah.
Okay, so that's, so, you know, often, you know, we hear that we don't invest in our communities. Mayor Foster's right. Today, this is heavily concentrated on Clarington. But just from the numbers shown this morning and the comment you made, that's $95 million that will be spent in the not-too-distant future. Not one community in the region could take a $95 million hit. And this is why regional government works. It's everybody working together to support each other so that each community can get to where they need to be. And to the Works team for the work that you're doing throughout the entire region, including the major project going on in Beaverton right now with the water treatment plant. This would never happen if we weren't together as a region, because no one municipality would be able to afford it. So it's not, I don't need a comment, but to the great work our Works department is doing, simply awesome. And whoever, the video, was it in-house or did we contract it out?
No, it's through the consultant, but over time, I've been meaning to talk to Allison to see if we can have an internal capability.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. It makes it easier for the public to understand the depths of what's going to happen. And it only needed somebody on the video waving to the community, and that would have been Mayor Foster. So thank you.
All right. Actually, before we go to Ian, just a question on the CP line. Is there enough space to, if CP decides to twin that, is there enough space on that overpass?
I'll need to check with Reed McGregor. Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes? Okay, good.
Thank you.
Just thinking future proofing, that's all. Okay. Now, do I go to a committee member for a second round, or do I go to our committee? Okay. Sorry, you're being bumped, Ian. Mayor Foster, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just very quickly, and Matt, I think you referenced it. The likelihood of those individual residences remaining on the east side of 57 Bowmanville Avenue is pretty remote. I assume, I think a couple of them have been assembled already. So I don't know that lining up pipes with existing pipes. Do you know on this, I know this is going to shock this group of people. Many years ago, development approval was given for a project on the corner of Highway 2. This would be the southeast corner of Highway 2 and Bowmanville Avenue. Despite the fact that they could have picked up a number of building permits, we're shocked that they haven't on that. But might this impact and help move a developer forward with that? I'm assuming we've already said yes Well, I know that they've got the proposal. We'll talk later about that one.
Yeah.
It would just be nice 10 years later after something was approved, given how awful municipalities are at getting approvals and how delayed they are. Oh, I'm sorry, am I venting a little bit here?
Yeah, we'll let you know, like, I'll get back to you.
The council session is in a different room right after the meeting, just so you know. Okay, next, Councilor McDougall. Go ahead, Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. The video was really good in terms of a civil perspective. The first time I saw 3D design was in 1997 for 3D piping design for petrochemical plants that were built on the other side of the world, where all the piping is loaded into a container, fully assembled, to be fully assembled on the other side of the world. And you can't have interferences because you don't have enough welders, et cetera, there to make those changes. So, I mean, we've seen it architecturally or home sales, et cetera, but to see it done on a civil project, which most people wouldn't be that interested in and would think that you could see a linear drawing and see it. But the truth is, most people can't actually visualize what a linear drawing will look like, once it's built. My question is has that video assisted anyone in the team, internally or externally, visualize any interferences that might have occurred without the video they didn't catch?
No, because this was really an afterthought due to the pandemic. But as we use more and more, I think this was actually not a flyover video. This was based on drawings and elevations, like they built a 3D model.
Yep.
Right, so it is what you're inputting as opposed to actually a drive-through.
Okay, very good. And then my other question was just in terms of, one was on the CP corridor. Is there enough room elevationally should they ever go to electrify that, i.e. Katner, that there's enough room under that overpass? Ramesh?
Reed, would you know?
Yeah, we followed their clearances that they require. So CP, we're working on many bridges along the CP line right now due to the GO Bowmanville expansion that's coming out that way, and they are not protecting for electrification on any of the existing structures on those bridges. But we have followed their clearance requirements, which I believe will allow for future electrification, although they're not specifically protecting for it.
Okay, very good. And then the last comment or question is just in terms of, thank you for the Vice Chair for asking the question on the living walls. Just thinking back to university days where there was, ivy on the walls, but I know that my 202 Dodge diesel truck would reverberate really nicely off those walls, both of them at the same time, should I want to do that. And I'm just thinking in terms of anyone with a loud exhaust or something like that, that corridor could get quite noisy quite quickly. I know that's not supposed to be the case, but without any echo protection off those walls, I'm just thinking that could make a pretty good echo chamber. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, like I said, the noise wall, the material, whether it's vegetation, berms, it's all modeled to the backyard noise level. And if there's no minimum threshold coming down in terms of noise, we wouldn't do it. So
Okay.
now, obviously, I don't think you could ever protect it from those modified mufflers and so on.
No.
But they use standard modeling procedures.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right, so great conversation. Thank you very much to the team for putting that together. It helps a lot. All right, I don't think we need a motion or anything on that. Just an FYI, okay? Sounds good. All right, let's go to, we have report number, we're at 7.2A. I think it's 2025 WR4. It's in regards to the extension of the cart-based collection pilot. What would you like to do with this, folks? We've got Sterling Lee. Go ahead, Sterling.
Chair, I just have some questions regarding the report. So, as a whole, I think there was 3 options to continue the project. As a whole, overall, are we seeing this as a fruitful project, that this is the future of waste management for Durham Region? Or, are we continuing a pilot project because we think it's going to be fruitful over time? Because, the investments are not inconsequential, and I'm not sure what the public feedback is. One of them is my ward. I think some people didn't like them early on. Now they're getting used to it. But I'm just wondering, what is? I mean, I just joined Works after this project. So just what is the future of this project as far as our staff's concerned?
So I'm going to try and respond if that's okay, Andrew, and then we'll just switch back. But the vast majority of municipalities, Councillor Lee, are going this direction. The great thing about it is it means that an old guy like me can drive one of these trucks and not destroy his body. Means that we have a more diverse workforce, less health and safety concerns, less WSIB issues, that type of thing. So in the end, typically they like it. Now I'll let the expert actually answer. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yes, so this report was in response to requests from Works Committee to look at extending the pilot. The previous report did move us in the direction of adopting this region-wide, 2028 for Clarington, Uxbridge, Scugog, and Brock, and then 2030 for Ajax Pickering. So we had sort of three questions in terms of could we continue the pilot, could we expand the pilot, and could we look at bringing it forward, in particular to adopt it sooner. So sort of the three options. So option one is sort of a continue as is. Option two is looking at, once we started adding a truck, looking at making sure we were going to use that truck efficiently, so rolling it out to a few more routes. Right now we only have it on a Friday, extending that to sort of a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as well. And then option three is sort of a longer term. Could we look at bringing this forward to Ajax Pickering as well, which we don't have a full conclusion for at this point.
So I think I'll wait for the rest of, or whoever wants to speak from committee. But I mean, like, if this is where the future is going, as far as we're concerned, this is going to reduce, injury. It's what every other municipality is doing. We're seeing the advantages of, automating our thing. Then I think I'm more likely to go option three. Let's just make that decision now. We've tried the pilot project. We've seen results from it. We have statistics on it. And so, I mean, like, as long as there's a proven benefit to our constituents, I think we should truly be examining option three long-term. But again, I will wait for the rest of the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Foster.
Thanks, Mr. Do you want this on the floor?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I'll move that, and I'll move it as recommended. I know Councillor Lee is looking at something different, but
You good to second that, Councillor Lee, or because you might want to make an amendment, do you want to pause? So you're going to second it? Okay, sounds good. All right. Do you want to speak to it as well?
yeah. So just so I understand, the option is to retrofit a truck. It's not clear in the report. You're moving from Fridays only to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I think it says the same routes but more days. Can you explain the expansion, because there in fact is an expansion? Yes.
Yes. So option sort of the first option is just retrofit the truck, continue on with those two routes. When we realized that the most effective way of doing this was to retrofit a truck, it made sense to us to start looking at expanding it to other routes on other days. We would require the additional carts for that, and we haven't selected any routes as of this point. But the intent would be to roll that out for both garbage and organics for the for kind of select areas to just make use of the truck once we've got it retrofitted.
And is it a fair comment, if we're looking at the money going into the carts, the plans moving forward, and anticipating other municipalities, that the decision to go this way has pretty much been made, yes? And I think we talked a little bit that council has sort of kind of already made that decision.
Yes, that was the previous automated cart report did include that direction to go to automated carts moving forward.
Okay, and I'll thank you. You've had discussion and dialogue with one of my councillors is concerned with some validity. I think in the paper we saw reports in Brampton, particularly where there are stacked towns, the problems with the carts and managing and that sort of thing. You had great answers, and you're doing some good work moving forward to deal with that. And of course, Clarington's concerned that we reduce the flow of waste to the EFW as much as possible. So for your attention and help. Did I miss anything? I know you wanted to talk to me afterwards.
No, you're good.
Okay, we'll talk afterwards. Thank you. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, just wondering, right now, the recommendation is option one, correct?
I believe it's 1 and 2.
1, 2, okay, sounds good. Does anyone want to propose any additional amendments, or no? Okay, seeing none. All right, all in favor of the motion then? And that is carried. Thank you very much. All right, we are now into we have a number of reports, W19, 20, 21, 22, and 24. Do we want to group those together, Mr. Chair? Okay. Okay, seconded by Vice Chair Marin Pietri. Any questions or comments on those reports? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor? Okay, that is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we have confidential report 10.1. This is 2025 W18. Again, Clarington. Okay. Okay, sounds good. No questions, no comments, all in favor? That's carried. Excellent. Okay, is there, what's that? I know, it's really good that we move that meeting a little bit further west. But, all right, any other business? All right, then our next meeting is, okay, our next meeting is September the 3rd. We've heard enough from Clarington today, is a motion I just saw at 9:30 in the morning. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Motion to adjourn? Councilor Mulcahy and Chair Henry. Thank you. Hey, thanks.